Hey, what's going on, Lorcana moms and dads? Chris here from A Parent's Guide to Lorcana, and I'm so happy you're back with us on the channel. Today, we're going to talk about the cards, because you've decided that Lorcana is right for you. You now know, hopefully with the help of our video, what you need to get to play the game, and now you have all these wonderful cards, but you don't know what to do with them. That's where we come in. We're going to help you figure out the cards, understand what they mean, the symbols, the words, the names, and hopefully give you a better understanding of what you can do with these cards. And then at the end, we're going to show you a little learn to play video with all the information that we've learned about the cards. So let's dive right in. There's four kinds of cards in the Lorcana deck. There's action cards, like this Smash. There's non-inkable hero cards, like our friend Hades over here. There's inkable hero cards, like Mickey Mouse. And there's action songs. And with all these types of cards, you're going to go on a quest for lore and battle your opponent to see who can win. So, what do these cards mean anyway? They've got fantastic art on them, but they also have a lot of information on the card that will essentially direct you on what you're going to do with them. Let's go through it bit by bit. In the top left hand corner, you're going to see a number. That number is the cost it will take to play this card. And the currency in this game is ink. We're going to go over how to ink cards in the Learn to Play video. But essentially, you will either choose to play these cards or ink these cards for currency to play other cards at a later date. Around the top left-hand number, you'll see a little gold flourish. That means this card is inkable. That means that if you don't want to play this card for its value on the top left-hand corner, you can ink it in your inkwell for one ink, and that becomes currency to play another card later on. What the card is supposed to do is written here below the image. This card's called Smash. Let's see what it does. It costs 3 ink to play it, because that's the value in the top left-hand corner. And the card deals 3 damage to chosen character. This is an awesome card. So if you have 3 ink in your inkwell, you can pay the cost of this 3 ink cost card, and you can deal 3 damage to any chosen character on your opponent's side of the table that you want. Some of these cards are lower than 3, which means that they will remove that card right off the table. This is a really good card. The other kind of cards we have are non-inkable hero cards. Now you'll notice in the top of Hades here, he's a 4 cost, but there is no gold flourish around his number. It's just a gold octagon. This means this card cannot be turned into ink. No matter what you do, this card has to be played on the table. Some of the cards with extra abilities might not be able to be inked because it'd become too powerful. You want to have some restrictions on these powerful cards because you don't want them to have the ability to do everything, become ink, or be played and have special abilities. Now, this card, the Hades card, has a 4 in the top left-hand corner. Now, again, the top left-hand corner is the cost to play this card. So you would need 4 ink in your inkwell to be able to afford to play this card. In the middle of the card, you're going to see 2 other numbers. For Hades, it's a 3 and a 2. The 3 has a sun around it, and the 2 has a shield around it. The 3 in the sun equals his strength. If he's going to go and attack another card, this is how strong this card is when he's attacking. The 2 in the shield of this card is how much defense this card has. In Lorcana, it's called willpower. So if someone was to attack you, they would have to have an attack value of greater than, in this case, 2 to defeat Hades. Subsequently, if I'm attacking somebody, my Hades is an attack value of 3, they would have to be 3 or lower for me to defeat them. So now we know what the numbers on the cards mean. The top left-hand corner is the cost of the card. that you have to pay in ink, because ink's your currency, to play the card. The number in the red, or in this case, amber, sunburst is your strength, how much damage you'll deal if you're attacking another opponent. And the shield is a number of damage you can withstand before you die. Or in this case, you're banished. Now, why is this card not inkable? Well, just below the image, there's some flavor text. And there's some special abilities on this card. And this card in particular says Well of Souls. When you play this character, return a character card from your discard hand. That seems really powerful. Imagine this: you just put down one of your favorite cards on the table, and your opponent immediately banishes them. Maybe you use the card Smash to deal 3 damage and banish that card. They think that card is gone from the game for good, but they don't know you have Hades inside your hand. When you play Hades on that turn, you can go to your banish pile, find any card you want, and put it back in your hand. So you're sacrificing the inkability of this card to get a really cool buff. And this buff helps you put cards back in your hand. Cards in hand is the key to winning Lorcana. You want to be able to have the most options out there to play against your opponent's options. The game is all about options. This next card we have is an inkable hero card. This is Mickey Mouse the Musketeer. This is one of my favorite cards, and I'm actually running a Musketeer deck right now. The cards themselves are the same. The top left-hand corner is the cost to be able to afford this Mickey card. In this case, it's 6. So you'll need 6 ink from your inkwell to pay for the cost of this card. Mickey's strength is 2. He's not a very big attacker, but his willpower is 7. This means he can take a lot of damage from your opponent's characters before he's banished. Now, this card has a couple of perks. Even though it's inkable, it does have some extra bonus abilities that trigger on the card. The reason it's inkable and it has the bonus abilities is because this card is so expensive to play. A 6-cost card traditionally will not come into play until about the 6th round. So you have to wait quite a bit of time before you're even allowed to play this card because of the amount of ink you need to afford it. So this one is inkable and it's powerful, but the caveat is it's going to take a while to get this card out. The extra abilities on this card is Bodyguard. This character may enter play exerted, and opposing characters who challenge one of your characters must choose this character first. We're going to have a video about keywords later on, but Bodyguard is a very cool keyword. This card almost exclusively wants to defend your other cards so that they can continue to do stuff like Quest for Lore or Challenge, while Mickey, with his Bodyguard keyword, takes all the punishment. You may be thinking now, that's why his willpower, his 7 shield, his 7 health, is so strong. If this card is out there deliberately looking to take attacks from your opponent, it's going to want to have a very high willpower. You're going to want to have it out there for a longer period of time. And with Bodyguard, your opponent has to challenge this card if able. So if there are 4 cards on the table, 3 of them are non-Bodyguard cards and 1 of them is, if your opponent is going to challenge, it must challenge this card first. Bodyguard is a fantastic keyword. It also has another trigger word here that says all for 1. Your other Musketeer characters gain +1 power. This card not only protects you from your opponent's damage, but it is giving every other Musketeer card in your deck an extra 1 plus to their power. So, if I have my Donald Musketeer and my Goofy Musketeer, or maybe another Mickey Musketeer, Their power is increased by 1 just by having these cards, this version of the Musketeer card, in play on the table. So now, if you wanted to challenge someone, but you didn't think you were going to in the first place, you now know you've got 1 extra strength on those cards when they challenge because of this Mickey Mouse. The fourth card type is an action song. Now, songs are different in a way because you can pay the cost in the top left hand corner to sing this song, or characters can sing this song for free by activating. Now, a character can activate and challenge, it can activate and quest, or it can activate and sing. And in this case, you may want to sing this song. Hakuna Matata. It's a 4 cost song, so it's going to cost you 4 ink from your inkwell just to afford to play this card. Or a character with 4 or more cost can activate and sing this song for free. So if you have a 4 or more cost character on the table, but you don't have enough ink in your inkwell to pay for this cost of this card, you could sing it as your character's action. And the song is, when you sing, remove up to 3 damage from each of your characters. This is a great card if you're in the middle of a very heated game and there's damage done to all your characters that are in play. You can pull this card out either with the cost of 4 ink, or if a character of 4 value or greater sings it, and you can remove 3 damage from every single character that's on the field. This might be enough to save all those characters from banishment and get you right back in the game. Now, the last really important icon on the card are these diamonds in the bottom right side. And these diamonds are lore. Now, like I said, I'll go over this more in the gameplay video, but you can do a couple things when you're playing this game. You can quest for lore, you can challenge, or you can sing a song. Unless the card allows, you can't do multiple of those things. But this card, Mickey Mouse Musketeer, he has 2 lore pips, which means if he decides to quest for lore this turn, he will get 2 lore every time he quests. Where a character like Hades, he only has 1. So you can still quest with him, but you're going to be getting less lore every time you do it. Now, the goal of this game is to get to 20 lore. So you need to figure out when you want to quest, or when you want to challenge, or when you want to leave everything alone and not do anything at all. Because on your turn, you can do that too. The strategy in the game is figuring out when to do the things you need to do to get to 20 lore and win the game. Now, if you look closely, you might notice one more symbol that's on every one of these cards, but not every card has the same symbol. Those symbols represent the card's rarity. The first symbol is a steel circle, and that represents common. These are cards that are going to come up all the time when you open booster packs or starter sets. Commons are the most, well, common card to help you build your deck. Now, the next symbol is uncommon. You're still going to find these cards, but they're a little less common than your standard everyday common card. And these cards have what I call a little lore book in white at the bottom. I'm pretty sure everybody has their own different name for these symbols, but I'm calling it a little white lore book. The next rarity is a little orange triangle, and that's rare. Now, these cards are going to be harder to find. The rarer the card, the more they can do. The more special they are, the more powerful they are. They don't want to have these cards floating around just everywhere. You're going to pull rares for sure, but it'll take you a little longer to get a set of 4 Mickey Mouse Musketeers because it is a rarer card. The fourth card is an ultra rare. Now, these are little silver seashell looking symbols in the bottom of the card. These are really tricky to get your hands on. Again, most of these cards do some wonderful things. They don't want to make it too easy for you. You'll see these cards, but you won't see them as often. Certainly not as often as rares, and definitely not as often as commons or uncommons. If you're looking for a card like this, that's an ultra rare, you may want to consider buying single cards in the singles market. I'll have a video about buying cards in the singles marketplace later on, but you can actually go online and buy just the cards you need from lots of vendors all over the world. So if you happen to find this one Ariel, for example, and I only have the one, but I would like 3 more to complete a play set, rather than searching through boxes and boxes and boxes of boosters, you can just go and buy 3 more of these online and finish your play set. Might be a bit more expensive that way, but at least you get the card you want. Now, the rarest card, or rather, before we even got the set, we thought was the rarest card, was the legendary card. Now, legendary cards have what looks like a little golden shield at the bottom. And at the end of the video, I'm going to make sure I post a rarity list for you so you can follow along and see what all the different rarities are. These are by far the hardest cards to get. They're legendary. They should be hard to get, but they do so many wonderful things that you don't want these cards popping up. I think you might get one legendary card in every 2 or 3 booster boxes. So you're talking over 36 packs of cards you'd have to open to just find one of these things. Um, my averages math might be off, but it's something along the lines of 3 booster packs, or 3 booster boxes rather. So 36 packs of cards will get you one of these legendary cards. Now, the ultimate prize, a card that I don't even own yet, is the Enchanted card. These are so special. And I think the rarity level of these are like 1 in every 6 or 7 booster boxes. It is so hard to find an enchanted card. But if you look on Facebook, a lot of people are finding them, which is fantastic. They're getting out there, they're getting into circulation. Now, the enchanted card essentially is the legendary card. However, the art's going to be different. It's going to have a rainbow circle foil in the bottom to denote that it's an enchanted. And rather than having this black border around the card, the art's going to go edge to edge. They call it a full card art. These are beautiful cards. Now, the enchanted card does not play any different than the card that is the non enchanted version of it. The triggers are the same, the cost to pay is the same, the strength is the same, and the willpower is the same. You're just getting very rare, enchanted rare artwork that not many people have. So if you're lucky enough to pull one of those enchanting cards, consider yourself very, very lucky. Some people I've noticed are playing them in their decks. Some people are putting them in a top loader for safety and keeping them on the shelf. Some people are even sending them away to a company called PSA. Now, PSA will look at your cards, grade your cards, and seal them in a plastic brick with the grading on them so that for all time you'll have a card in its current condition forever. And as the game goes on, and as the cards increase in value, they become an investment. And this could be something that you sell down the road to pay for your child's university fund, or help pay for a wedding, or maybe their first car. They're definitely the card that everybody is after. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how the cards work. So now we have a very, very, very loose understanding about what the cards do, what the numbers on the cards mean, what some of the keywords on the cards mean. And I think before we get too involved in specialty keywords, we're going to do a little learn to play video just to show you how these cards and their values and their keywords interact on the table with one another. So come along with us and let's have a game. Hey, moms and dads, Lorcana. So you've got your cards and you're about ready to play your game. But what do you do with them? Well, you know that you need to make a deck of no less than 60 cards. You can have more than 60 cards, but you have to remember, getting through these cards is going to be very difficult if you have a lot more than 60. I play with a 65 card deck, and I think that's good for me. You'll be able to find out what works best for you the more you play. But let's stick with 60 for now. I'm sure you're noticing too, the decks come in lots of different colors. Ruby, sapphire, amethyst, emerald, amber, and steel. Each color has its own unique trait and style of play. Some are more aggressive. Some decks stop your opponent from doing things. Some decks are magical. Some decks are big bruisers. You can put any two color you like together. There's no rules. You can have sapphire and ruby, amber and steel, like me. It doesn't really matter. You play the cards you like the best. Once you get a few games under your belt, you'll realize that certain colors synergize better with each other. But I'm a big fan of, if you love it, play it. So before you worry about what synergizes, pick the colors that have the cards you like the best. I like steel and amber the best. I like how they work together, and I love the cards. So I'm going to go ahead and pick these two cards for my match. Again, there's no rules here. If you don't like those cards, go ahead and build another deck of 60 cards. Pick different colors, mix and match your colors. Even when you determine you've fallen in love with a color combo, you'll start to realize I can add cards or take away cards as different booster packs come out, different sets come out. Rise of the Floodborn comes out in November, and that's going to be 204 brand new cards to go through. And I'm certain you'll find some amber cards or steel cards to add to this deck and remove other cards that don't quite work so well. This is an ever-evolving game. You can always play with these cards, or you can change it up as you see fit. You play Lorcana your way, because at the end of the day, it's all about having fun and playing games. Let's get started. Welcome back to our Learn to Play video. Today, I'm going to play a couple rounds of Lorcana for you, just to show you how all the cards you just learned about play and interact with one another. After you shuffle your deck, the first thing you're going to do is draw 7 cards. Your opponent will do the same. Let's have a look at our cards. Now, if you don't like the cards you have in your hand, you can do what they call a mulligan, and that's putting back all or just some of the cards if you don't think you need them. What we're looking for the first round is some low-numbered cards that we can play right away. 1s, 2s, 3s are great for the first couple of rounds. If you can see here, I've got a couple 1s here, and 1 here. I've got a couple of 2s, and some 4s. I think I'm going to stick with this hand. The first thing we have to do now is ink one of these cards, because we have to pay the currency to be able to afford to play the card that follows it. Every card is played with the currency of ink. Now remember, in the last video you saw that these gold flourishes around the cards mean you can ink them. These without the gold flourish means you cannot ink them. I think I want to get one of these 1 cards down, so I know that all I need is 1 ink to be able to pay that cost. I'm going to take Ariel, and I'm going to tell my opponent I'll be inking Ariel, and you put it face down in your inkwell like so. Now, we have 1 ink. That's 1 currency to pay for these cards. And look, I've got 3 cards that are worth 1. So I could pay the 1 ink and cast any one of these cards that I like. I'm going to go with Stitch first. I'm going to turn my card and declare that I'm paying the cost. I'm going to play Stitch on the table. Now, Stitch can't do anything this round because you've just dipped your quill into the ink and you've drawn him on the table. So he's still drawing. He can't do anything right now. So our turn is over. Our opponent's going to do the same thing as us. They're going to draw 7 cards also. They're going to have a look at their hand and determine the same thing. Do we want to keep these cards? Do we want to mulligan any cards? Remember, mulligan means you can put some or all of them back. Again, we're looking for 1s. We're looking for 2s. Oh, we got a couple 4s and 5s here. But I think we're going to hang on to them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 5-cost Donald and I'm going to ink him. I'll tell my opponent I'm inking this Donald Duck. And you put it face down in your inkwell. Let's have a look at those cards again. Oh, look, we've got 2 options here. Character cards that cost 1 ink. I'll go ahead and pay the value, and I'm going to play Pascal. Just like Stitch, when Pascal comes in, he's still drawing because you've just dipped your pen in the inkwell to draw him onto the table. So he can't challenge Stitch. He can't quest for lore. He can't really do anything right now. So the opposing player's turn is over. So now we're back on this side of the table. We have to reset the ink. We can move Stitch up to indicate that he's now dry and ready for action. And then we'll draw another card. It's a smash. That's a good card. Unfortunately, it costs 3 ink to play it. Now, I don't have enough ink yet, but I'm definitely looking to ink some of these cards so I can actually play more cards this turn. Let's see what I can do. I think I'm going to ink the smash card we just got. And I'll put it down in the inkwell. Now, just so you know, there is no drying time for ink, like the cards. When you put the ink in the inkwell, you can use it right away to pay the cost of another card. I'm going to go ahead and pay 1 ink and bring out my Lilo. Well, I've got 1 more ink here. And look, I've got another card that's value of 1. I think I'm going to pay this ink and bring out this card. I'll turn my ink sideways and I'll bring out Captain Hook. Now, just like before, Lilo and Captain Hook can't do anything this turn because we just dipped our quill into the ink and drew them onto the table. However, Stitch is now dried. He can do a couple things. He can quest for lore, or he can challenge Pascal. Or can he? He actually can't challenge Pascal, because unless Pascal is activated because he himself went on a quest or challenged, he's considered safe in this position. So as of right now, my options are limited. I can wait and do nothing, or I can activate Stitch and quest for 1 lore. Because if you look at his card, he has a 1 lore diamond. I think I'm going to do that. Stitch is going to quest for 1 lore, so I declare that to my opponent. And then in the app, or on a piece of paper and a pen, you can write down 1 lore. These 2 characters have not dried yet, So my turn is over, and I'll pass the turn to the opponent. Now our opponent is going to reset their ink, move Pascal up, because he's now dry, and draw a card. Oh, coconuts. This is a really good card. I'll actually read this text to you. Whenever you play a character, you may remove up to 2 damage from a chosen character. This is an item. We saw item cards earlier. This stays on the table unless there's an item removal card that's played. That means every single time I play a character, I can remove 2 damage from a chosen character. That's a really good card. I think I'm going to hang on to that one. Let's have a look at our cards. I think I'm going to ink Olaf. I declare to my opponent that I'm inking Olaf, and I put him down in my inkwell. Now, if you notice, I don't have any 1-cost cards, but I do have some 2-cost cards. I think I want to play Grammatala. So I'm going to go ahead and pay the cost of 2 ink, and I'm going to bring Grammatala out on the table. Remember, she's still drying, so she can't do anything. Now, Pascal, however, he can do a couple things. He can challenge, or he can quest. Now, looking at Pascal's stats, he's got a 1 power and a 1 willpower. Stitch has a 2 power and a 2 willpower. Because Pascal is 1 less than Stitch, I don't think it's a good idea that I'm going to challenge him. Not only will my 1 only reduce his damage down to 1, but when you challenge a character at the end of that turn, they automatically challenge you back for the value of their power. Hypothetically, if Pascal challenged Stitch, Pascal would put 1 damage onto Stitch, bringing him down to 1. But Stitch's 2 damage would banish Pascal right off the table. And that card would be gone. So, for this case, I don't think I want to go ahead and challenge Stitch. But I don't see any other characters on the table right now that I can be worried about. Lilo and Captain Hook are both still drying. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to quest for 1 lore also. And now I have 1 lore, and my opponent has 1 lore. We're tied. I can't do anything else with the cards I have, as Grammatala is still drying. So my turn is over, and I'll pass it back to my opponent. I'm going to go ahead and reset Stitch. I'll move Lilo and Captain Hook up in the ready position, because now their ink is dry. They're ready to have some fun. And I'll reset my ink. And then I'll draw a card. Prince Eric, that's a great card. And it only costs 2. This gives me another option for bringing a card out right away. Let's see. I think I'm going to ink Aladdin. I'll declare that I'm inking Aladdin to my opponent, and I'll put him face down in the inkwell. I have some options here. I can pay 2 ink and play Prince Eric, or I can pay 2 ink and sing Be Our Guest. Now, Be Our Guest can also be sung for a character that costs 2 or more. Unfortunately, I don't have any of those characters on the table right now. So if I wanted to play this card, I'm going to have to pay the ink cost. I think I want to do that. Look at what this card says. When you play this card, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a character card and put it in your hand. Put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. This is a great card. Remember I told you earlier, the key to winning Lorcana is having cards in your hand. You want options to be able to counter whatever your opponent does to you. I'm going to go ahead and pay the 2 ink. And I'm going to play this song, Be Our Guest. Now I'm going to look at the top 4 cards on my deck. 1, 2, 3, 4. It says I can look for a character card. Let's see here. That's a song. That won't help me. That's another song. That's not going to help me. There's Tinkerbell. She might help. Oh, there's Giant Tink. That's not the card I wanted to see here. We're going to go into some more advanced rules in another video. But this Tink has an ability called Shift. And you can shift the big Tink onto the small Tink. This is a great combo, but unfortunately, I can't do it right now. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this big Tinkerbell. Even though her cost is 6 and I can't play her yet, I think this is a good card to have in my back pocket for later. I'll put these cards at the bottom of my deck. The card says I may reveal it, so I'll tell my opponent I'm keeping the Giant Tink. And I'll put her in my hand. Action songs go away right after they're used. So this card can't be used anymore. I'm going to put it over in the discard pile or the banished pile. Just over here. Now, I've got a 6 cost, a 4 cost, and a 2 cost. But I've only got 1 unused ink left. So I'm not able to actually pay for these new characters to come out. However, I have all of these characters here, and they have a lot of options they can do. Stitch can quest for 1 lore. Lilo can quest for 2 lore. Captain Hook can quest for 1 lore. But look at this. Captain Hook says Challenger 2. When challenging, this character gets +2. Now wait a second. That 1 +2 for Challenger will give me 3. Pascal only has 1 strength and 1 shield. My 3 will easily take out Pascal, and when he shoots back, my health will only go down to 1. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to declare to my opponent that I'm challenging Pascal. Captain Hook goes back to your table, and Pascal is banished. Remember now, Pascal has a power of 1. So before he banishes, he shoots 1 shot over at Captain Hook, taking his 2 down to 1. You can use a life counter, you can use a 6-sided die, you can use M&Ms if you want to. Anything so you remember that that 2 is now a 1. For sake of this video, we're just going to remember. Captain Hook is now down to 1 health. He stays activated, and he's done all he can this turn. When you take an action, you can quest, you can sing a song, or you can challenge. You can't do all 3, and you can only do 1. Because I've chosen with Captain Hook to challenge, I can no longer do anything with Captain Hook. Grandma Tala is still drawing, so I know she's not a threat. So I think I'm going to go ahead and quest with Stitch and quest with Lilo. I activate both cards, and I tell my opponent I'm going to quest for 1, 2, 3 lore. Remember, we have 1 lore from the first time that Stitch quest. That means that we've got 4 lore. That's a good start. To win the game, we have to get to 20 lore. I think we're off to a great start with this. With no more cards in my hand that I can afford to play the ink, and my characters exerted from doing all of their actions, the turn now goes back to my opponent. So I think we have to answer something here. There's a lot going on that side of the table. I need to come back with my own. So I'm going to ready my ink, move Grammatala up, because now she's dry and ready to get in the action. And I'm going to draw a card. Jasmine. I like this card. Let's have a look here. I think I'm going to ink Dr. Facilier. I'll declare to my opponent, and I'll put him in the inkwell. Now I have some options. I can pay the ink cost to bring out coconuts. I can pay all 3 of the ink cost to bring out Jasmine, or I can pay 2 and freeze. Freeze is a great card. It's an action that says exert opposing character. If your characters on the other side of the board aren't exerted, you can go ahead and choose one to exert. If they are exerted, freeze will keep them that way, so they can't ready on their next turn. I think we're going to do that. I think we're going to pay 2 ink, and I'm going to cast freeze. I'm going to cast freeze on Captain Hook, because he's looking pretty dangerous, and I don't want to keep him there so he can't do anything else. I don't have enough ink to play any more of my cards in my hand, but Grammatala's on the table. She can quest, or she can challenge. Now, with a 1 power and a 1 willpower, or health, she's not really a fighter. There aren't any cards on that side of the table that I'm currently worried about, so I'm going to go ahead and quest for 1 lore. Now I've got 1 more lore for my team. With no more actions, and all my characters exerted, I can't do anything more on my turn, and I'll pass it back to my opponent. It's my turn again. I'll ready all my ink. I'll ready all my characters, and wait a second, Hook's frozen. I can't ready him. That means he can't quest or challenge, and because he's in the activated position, he's now vulnerable. This is a really good card, and now I have 1 less card that I can do something with. Uh-oh. I hope this doesn't cause me any problems. Then I'll draw a card. It's another song. I think I'm going to ink this song. I'll declare it to my opponent, and I'll put it face down in my inkwell. I think I only want to pay 2 ink right now to pay the cost of Eric. And I'll play Eric. Now remember, Eric's still drawing, so I can't do anything with him. Captain Hook is frozen, so I can't do anything with Captain Hook. Lilo is a 1 strength, 1 willpower. Grammatala is a 1 strength, 1 willpower. I think if I attack Grammatala with Lilo, Lilo's also going to get banished, so I don't want to do that. Stitch, however, has a 2 strength and a 2 willpower, which means if I attack Grammatala, I'll only take 1 damage, but Grammatala is going to be knocked off the board and banished. That's a great idea. I'm going to use Stitch, and I'll declare to my opponent that I'm going to attack Grammatala. Grammatala gets banished. Now there's no one on the table to stop me. I'll quest for 2 more lore with Lilo. Now I'm up to 6. I think I'm going to win this one. With Eric still drawing, and not enough ink to pay for the cost of these cards, my turn is over, and I'll pass it back. Hold on a second, Chris. Grammatala has a keyword, and I'll read it to you. I will be with you. When this card is banished, you may put this card into your inkwell, face down, and exerted. Oh my gosh, I just gave my opponent an extra ink. This is by far the most thematic card, because Grammatala is always going to be there for Moana. And here she is. Even though she's banished, she's still there for you as ink. We're going to go ahead and put her down in the inkwell exerted. So we can't use her cost right now, but she'll definitely be there for later when I'm trying to play a big 4-cost card. And wouldn't you know it, I've got one in my hand. So I'll draw a card. Let's have a look here. I think I want to ink the coconuts. I'll put it face down. And now we have some options. I think I'm going to pay 3 my ink to bring out Jasmine. 1, 2, 3. And Jasmine comes out. Now Jasmine is still drawing, and I have no other cards on the table. So at this point, I can't do anything more. So I'll pass a turn back. I'll reset all my cards. I'll move Eric up, because he's now dry. I'll reset my ink, and I'll draw a card. I got Tinkerbell. This is exactly the card I was looking for. I'm going to go ahead and pay 3 ink and play Tinkerbell. Remember, she's drawing, so she can't do anything. But I've got 4 cards on the table that are fully dry. They can do a lot of things. Remember, they can challenge, they can sing songs, or they can quest. I see Jasmine has 2 lore, but I think I'm far enough ahead that I'm not going to worry about challenging her right now. So I'm going to go ahead and activate all my cards, and I'm going to challenge for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 11 lore in total. That was a really big swing. And I don't think my opponent has anything over there that they can do about it. Now my turn is done. I don't have enough ink to pay for any more of my cards, so I'll go ahead and pass it back to my opponent. We'll go ahead and ready Jasmine. We'll reset all of the ink, even the free Grammatella that you got. And I'll draw a card. Aurora. This is a good card. Now I have a decision to make. Do I want to ink anything or just stick with the 5 that I have down? I think I'm going to stick. I'm going to pay 4 and bring out Sorcerer Mickey. Again, he's still drawing, so he can't do anything. But Jasmine, she has a couple options. Remember, she can challenge, or she can quest, or she can sing a song. Let's have a look at the cards in our hand. One Jump Ahead is an action song. It costs 2 ink, but I don't have 2 ink left. But a character with cost 2 or more can activate and sing this song for free. Put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exert it. That's another card that's going to give me ink. I really want to get some more cards out. So I'm going to go ahead and activate Jasmine, and I'm going to have her sing the song. I'll take the top card of my deck, and I'm going to put it in my inkwell exerted. I can't use it yet, but it'll be there for later. With Mickey still drawing, I'm not able to do anything right now. So I'll pass the turn back to my opponent. Okay, I've got some serious board control now. We've got 5 characters on the table. I'll reset my ink, and I'll draw a card. And it's Bodyguard Donald. This is a great card. Remember, we talked about Bodyguard earlier. When Donald comes into play, he immediately is exerted. And if my opponent wants a challenge, they must challenge the character with Bodyguard. Donald's going to protect all of my other cards so they can do other things. I'm going to play that card now. I'm going to pay the cost of 4 ink, and I'm going to play Donald. Now, because he has Bodyguard, this character may enter the play exerted. Now, he can't do anything on this turn, but he can be ready to block an attack if needed. I'm already at 11 lore. I don't see the need to fight Mickey, so I'm going to go ahead and quest for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I am 3 lore away from winning this game. I can't do any more with my cards. I don't have enough ink to pay for the rest of my cards in my hand. So I'm going to pass the turn over to my opponent. At this point of the game, you can have a discussion with your opponent and determine, are you going to play it out or are they going to forfeit the game at this point? I don't like forfeiting the game. I like playing it out. But in this case, I have 17 lore on the other side of the table. I only have 2 lore on my side of the table. There is not enough time for me to get enough cards down so I can get up enough lore to win this game. When the opponent activates all of their cards, all they have to do is quest with all of them, and they've won the game because they've surpassed 20 lore. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and concede the match to my opponent. Hey, so welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that Learn to Play video. It's the most fun thing that we can do. It's easy. You can crack the cards out after dinner one night, play right there on the kitchen table. You don't have to be a competitive player. You don't have to try to win the world championship. You don't have to be anything more than you want to be. This game is everything for everyone for different reasons. I hope you continue to play. I hope you continue to watch our videos and come back for some more information, and we'll see you real soon.